Yeah, they definitely are. Watch out. Get out of the paint. Get out of the fucking paint, bro. You ain't gonna give me the ball and then go to the paint. Come on, man. That's super breeze out here. Good shot. Got you. Come
Ooh.
on. Let's go.
Big man down there.
I got both of those, bro. Got stretchers and play shot creators and all types of things.
So you got a bunch of dudes.
I got 37 play shot. Come on.
You can
Get
make
out of there.
Hmm.
resolutions to improve your style. Make yourself look
Every
younger
year I make
and be
5 deals,
smarter
but
with your
every year.
finances.
Maybe they're
Or
all
make one
gonna be
that
maxed
accomplishes
out
them all.
90s, some high 90s,
Take
mid
full
90s.
advantage
So.
of the G70 during the Genesis year-end sales event.
Is Lamar the best
No, you
quarterback
don't.
in the NFL?
No, you don't, little
Yes,
buddy.
he's the
Just
MVP this
thinking.
season. He's the best. But really, you're asking a larger question because I've sat here and said
Hogo
Patrick
is
Mahomes is
on
in a class by
motherfucking
himself,
gold.
and now
Dude,
let's talk
man.
about everyone else. And I would have said Rodgers is after him. No, Patrick Mahomes.
Dude, nigga.
Push comes to shove, I would still
Straight up.
take him. Probably, maybe Lamar Jackson is on that level. I would say Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes has a chance to be Michael Jordan in the NFL. Lamar, it's just an issue of can he keep this up? And
Jada.
here's the scary thing about Lamar. He keeps getting better.
What
Lamar
the?
Jackson and this Ravens team keeps getting better. He was, according to Warren Sharp, I talk,
Sharp
Sharp Analytics.
analytics.
There you go.
Damn, but they don't be passing on the cut though.
The
And they
number
trying to hit
one
this trade, bro. I got this pick all day. The
Yeah.
man ain't coming up.
and
Oh
get
my
faster. Forget about his speed for a second. At age
That's
21,
how I get right. I'm
in
a
the
two-way finisher,
history
man.
of the NFL.
You're not
Now he's
fucking with
age
me.
22. How you liking that? How about this?
man, them
Also
big man
scoring
just sit in the
30
paint, bro. It's gonna
from
be
top
hard for you.
offensive minds
Yeah,
in the NFL. Head coaches Bill
And
Belichick,
you
that's
gotta
it.
get
I'm
Sean
the
that.
bryce.
Payton, Wade
That's how
Phillips,
I
and
live it.
Romeo Crennel.
You gotta get that shit on the break.
13
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns,
Or they
no
set up.
interceptions, 4-0 with a point
Catch
differential
them by
I
surprise.
have
over
to.
100.
Oh yeah,
I love
always.
That's a good
Mahomes.
point because Stephen
Get
A. likes
that.
resumes.
I love Mahomes. Mahomes is 24.
We was some winners. Just know
Lamar
that.
Jackson's 22 years old.
You can't shoot.
I know.
Patrick
I
Mahomes has
know.
come
Come
in.
on. Lumpy ass out here.
Emphasizing his
Uh,
age doesn't make him
I
any
need some
weaker.
help.
Number
I need
two,
some help. Where you at? Come on.
I'm
Oh,
really
yeah.
wondering
That's
what the
all. That's all
position
you.
is. Sap
Sharp
There you is.
Sharp
I'll give it to
analytics
you
tell me
all the way.
they need to give you one of those two deals. They really, really
It's
do.
him. It's
I'm
one
telling
man.
you, he needs to pay
One man
you.
band.
Okay, as much as you
My boy.
mentioned him, I'm being fair. He needs to pay you.
The best in the
Number
business.
three. Number three. I would have you remember
Damn, he
Oh,
went
quarterback.
coast to
pick up
coast.
everything.
Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in football. I
Can't
believe
pick
he
up
deserves to be
everything, my
remembered
man.
for
Oh,
his
look at your
leadership
boy,
this
your
season.
boy.
Without him
Oh,
come on board, he is the leading candidate for
oh.
Hmm.
MVP right now. But you know how I
Told you,
feel
don't be
about
dumb.
the position. What is your job description? And for me, no matter how electrifying you are, because I felt the same way when Michael Vick was making noise in the NFL. Running that football, you ain't a running back. You are electrifying. You might win games and all that stuff. But when we talk about a quarterback,
and welcome to First Take. I'm Roz Goldon-Woodey, filling in for Molly Karam, and I'm here with Stephen A. Max, what's up, guys?
Going on?
Happy day before Thanksgiving.
That's right. Stephen F. Austin wins a big game they're supposed to lose. Maybe you could win a debate today. Stephen A. Smith wins a debate. It'd be the bigger Stephen letter.
It's Thanksgiving. It's a time for giving. Let him go ahead and believe what the hell he wants. It's okay.
Well, you started it off, Max, so
Yeah.
I'll get to the upset, okay? Because there's no better way to start a day than with a good old-fashioned college hoops upset. Last night, Duke, the #1 team in the nation, was wildly upset by Stephen F., not Stephen A., Austin, at home. In overtime, it was Duke's first non-conference loss on their home court since 2000. Now, guys, can we just simply say it's early, no biggie? Or, Max, does Coach K have something to prove?
Yeah, Coach K has something to prove. I mean, both things you just said are true, but the thing I take away, of course he has something to prove. Not that he's not everyone knows he's a great coach. I'm not talking about that. This is not just another great coach. This is the gold standard. Stephen A., who's the greatest coach in the history of college basketball?
Mike Krzyzewski.
Right. It's Wooden or Krzyzewski, right? I mean, like, Krzyzewski in the modern game has won in, things were different then, right? But we're talking about, the greatest coach ever with UCLA and everything. But in Duke, in modern basketball, it's really, really, really hard to do what he's done. You think about the great coaches or the greatest coaches of this era, at least, Krzyzewski is right there. So we're not just talking about one of the contenders for the top spot. Of course he has something to prove. All the time, Stephen A., like Nick Saban, has something to prove. Not that he's necessarily slipping, but all of a sudden, there's another coach winning as much as him and against him, and Dabo Swinney. All of a sudden, he's getting the brakes beat off him in the national title game. He's getting upset at home by LSU. All of a sudden, does Saban have something to prove? Well, yeah, not that he's not we know he's great, but is he still #1? Is Krzyzewski the best coach in college basketball still? Are we sure about that? I don't know about that. I know Jay Wright he at least won a game with he lost most of his players and won a game, and before that won 2 of the last 3 national titles. I don't know that Krzyzewski's still the best coach in college basketball, Stephen A.
Well, listen, you could say that. I would tell you this. Tell me that Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, has something to prove because they haven't won an NCAA championship since 2015. Okay, I understand. Considering the multitude of All-Americans that you've had at your disposal. I understand that. Outside of that, I don't want to hear that, especially not based off of last night's game. It's college basketball. It's a game in November. It's early in the season. Okay, it's not the NCAA tournament. It's not one and done. It's going to have little to no effect on their season whatsoever. And not only that, particularly when it comes to kids, I would remind you that a guy by the name of Cam Reddish came on this show and confessed on national television. One of the biggest reasons that he had a problem last year was because he was busy eating pizza all the time, eating pizza and burgers and all of this other stuff. They're not worried about it. Is entirely plausible that the same team that beat Kansas to start the season, the same team that had just beat Georgetown and others, she sees Stephen F. Austin on the schedule.
By the way, that wasn't must-watch TV. I didn't sit down and watch that game live or anything like that. And when I saw it come across, I thought they were talking about you at first. I thought, what, Stephen A. Smith said something about Duke?
That's right.
We're going to have to talk about this on the show tomorrow.
Exactly.
Stephen F. Austin.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, come on. You're taking it for granted. It's entirely plausible, particularly basketball season. It's not football. Football, you only got about 12, 13 games during the college football season, particularly when you're a nationally ranked team. This could cost you, particularly when you got the playoff system to take into consideration where only 4 teams going to be picked. You got to take that into consideration. But with March Madness, the ACC competition, North Carolina up the road having the crew that it has, all of this other stuff, Stephen F. Austin, right before Thanksgiving.
Are you seeing cracks in the Krzyzewski wall?
No.
I'm seeing is that a crack right there?
No. If that's the case, they'd be a national champion right now.
Well, while it certainly doesn't mean panic for Duke, let's make sure we give Stephen F. Austin their proper credit for pulling off an amazing upset.
They did.
Absolutely.
Good job, Stephen. Stephen F. Austin.
It's the kids.
Stephen F.
It's about the kids.
Okay.
We want to give the kids congratulations to Stephen F. Austin.
This is a huge
You
deal.
deserve it. Just don't expect me to lose any sleep over Duke losing a game in November.
Okay, well then, are you losing sleep over Luka and the Mavs? Because as we move on, fans were pumped up for what was sold as a primetime matchup between Kawhi and PG's Clippers and Luka and his Mavs. But what we got last night was something kind of anticlimactic. The Mavs were exposed as not quite ready, not having enough offense outside of Luka, and they were held to just 38% shooting by a stingy Clippers defense. So, Stephen A., specifically for you, what did you learn about Luka last night?
I learned that he needs help, particularly when going against elite teams, and he doesn't have much of it right now in the form of Kristaps Porzingis, who's obviously coming off his nasty injury from a couple of years ago, his nasty knee injury a couple of years ago when he was contaminated by the New York Knicks, and then obviously got traded to the New York Knicks before the trading deadline last year. And this season, I'm looking at him right now. He's averaging 18 a game. He's only shooting 41% from the field, even though a respectable 37% from three-point range. And that 41% was an improvement from days ago. And this is what I would caution you, Max, to think about. When we're talking about Porzingis, remember, as much as we raved about the unicorn, you can't teach 7-3. He can block shots, he defends, he can certainly hit the perimeter shot. Let's keep in mind that he's no longer in the Eastern Conference. He's in a Western Conference where you got a whole bunch of cats that are coming at him. Luka Doncic is a man amongst boys coming into last night's game. Everybody's been talking about he's the rave. He's top 3, particularly after his performance against Houston and James Harden the other night. He's top 3 in the league MVP conversation thus far. And what did the Clippers do? They are waiting for this brother. And you got Patrick Beverley and you got Harold, not to mention George and Kawhi Leonard. And they reminded everybody, as you would say, defense is a part of all of this. It's real, real nice to you to look pretty against everybody else. We ain't having it. And so he shoots 4-14 from the field, somewhere around there. And of course, that leads you to lean on Porzingis a little bit more, and he simply was not ready. He is in a different conference. He is in a different league. And obviously, with Doncic being that dude, it might be a beautiful, beautiful thing to see in terms of the combo that they can be. But you are playing against grown men who wanted a piece of Doncic, and it was your job to help him, and you could only do but so much. What did Porzingis shoot? 4-13 from the field. Relatively pedestrian performance, and I wasn't surprised.
Kristaps Porzingis still has a chance to one day be the best player in the world. Better than Doncic, better than everybody.
But it won't happen.
I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. In fact, what I'm saying is it won't happen this year. Coming off the kind of injury he had, what typically happens is you miss a full season, and then if you can maintain and stay healthy, you have a season back where you can still do some things, but you're not and then after that whole process, that's 2 years, now you're back to hopefully what you once were. And if you're young enough and still ascending, that trajectory maybe takes you better than you've ever been. Kristaps Porzingis, listen to me closely, is one of the best defensive players I have ever seen before the injury. I've ever seen any era. It was like he was so underrated defensively. If you watch the games, his presence on the floor completely changed the other team's offense. And he was a real defender, like he cared about it. And he could defend in space, and he could protect the rim, and he was aggressive. Never mind the fact that what people really knew him for was the fact that he's 7'3", could take bigs off the dribble, face the basket, and bomb threes. This is the nucleus, this Dallas team, of a championship team if Porzingis stays healthy. Let me say this. The Clippers are a special defensive team. When we talk about Kawhi and Paul George and Patrick Beverley and these guys, it's not just that they're great on-ball defenders. They're not like instinctive defenders the way like Dennis Rodman was.
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write pretty much all
was, or Lawrence Taylor, or Troy Polamalu, one of these guys you watch in their sport, you go, oh my God, they have like a radar. They're not those kind of guys. These are like, the football equivalent would be like gap discipline guys. These are guys who are real defenders who can not only defend on the ball, but in a team concept. And you saw them funneling, Doncic to the big, to Zubac, and that was working. The Clippers are going to win the championship this year because of that. Doc Rivers, a Hall of Fame head coach, defensive players everywhere you look, 2 MVP caliber players, and the best player in the world who's also the best in crunch time, Kawhi Leonard. I don't hold that against this baby Mavericks team.
Well, first of all, a couple of things. Number one, I haven't given up on the Lakers winning the championship just yet, and they happen to have the best record in basketball.
Looking
Just
good.
thought I'd point that out. And number two, I want to be very, very clear about what I'm saying. At no time will Kristaps Porzingis, and I like him, and I love me some Rick Carlisle, and Luka Doncic is the man. At no time will Kristaps Porzingis ever be the best player in
You
basketball.
better hope he doesn't stay healthy for that prediction to come true.
Ever.
We'll see.
All right, guys.
Ever.
All right, guys, we got to go to break on this. More to come on First Take. Everyone was anticipating the Browns-Steelers rematch after.
Great game tonight. What do you think defensively, y'all?
NBA game of the night last night involved Kawhi Leonard and the brilliant young Luka Doncic. Everyone with an eye on Luka, including the defense of the LA Clippers. Boy, their defense is oh so good. Zubac's meeting him at the basket there and then starting a break in the other direction, and that's Kawhi Leonard with the layup in transition. And this was a bit of the story of the game last night. Again, Doncic going to the hole. Again, the defense at the rim was good, and this time Doncic goes down a little shaken up. He would remain in the game, but he would struggle last night. The Clippers, I'll say it again, are a great defensive team. That's Beverly with the steal. That's Paul George with the slam. George had 17 in the first quarter. He'd finish with 26 on the night. Clippers would run out in front, and they would never look back. Third quarter, they're up by 19 points. It's Williams, it's Leonard, it's good. He would finish with 28 on the night. Clippers a commanding lead. Fourth quarter, under 5 minutes to go. Doncic still in the game, down by 20, trying to spark a comeback, but nothing to be found. Doncic, 22 points, 6 assists, 7 turnovers. Clippers, a statement win, 114-99. And the Clippers have temporarily placed Luka Doncic's tear through the NBA on hold. He was averaging 65 points a game over his previous 4 games, but that would be created points, but created just 38 last night, 0 for 8 from behind the arc, by far his worst shooting performance from deep this season, not to mention the 7 turnovers. And look who was with us this morning, the one and only Jalen Rose. What up, though, my friend? Let's talk about Luka Doncic. He is spectacular, but that Clipper defense was unbelievable last night.
Absolutely, Green Mamba. And the thing is, you start the game with Patrick Beverly guarding him. Patrick Beverly gets in foul trouble. Paul George has 17 points in the first quarter, gets himself going offensively. Kawhi Leonard gets going in the second quarter. And you look up at halftime, Lou Williams is the third player for the Clippers in double figures. We're only talking about Doncic for the Mavs because we're not really talking about Porzingis. He has to continue to evolve and become that true number 2 that Luka Doncic can depend on a nightly basis. But the Clippers, when they lock down, can be the best overall perimeter defensive team in the game.
And let me very quickly ask you about where we started our program this morning. The incredible Stephen F. Austin upset of Duke last night at Cameron Indoor. What did you make of that? What do you take away from something like that?
I know most fans thought I was going to come on the show and have a Stephen F. Austin jersey on, but I wouldn't be the guy to do such a thing. But if you look at the landscape of collegiate basketball, the top players like Wiseman in Memphis, we've seen Michigan State lose to Va Tech, we've seen Kentucky lose at home. It just shows you that this may be the year that a true Cinderella has a legitimate chance to cut down the nets when it's all said and done. I know when the tournament brackets come out, we always talk about the Cinderella, but ultimately when they make it to the Sweet 16, when they make it to the Final Four, they get bounced. Maybe this is the year that it actually takes place.
And last night, the slipper definitely fit.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.
Drill.
Cordless.
Noted.
That's a good one.
Introducing the Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited 5% back on everything you buy at Walmart online.
What's in your wallet?
Luka.
First up, Luka Doncic, who put up an absurd 35-point triple-double in just 25 minutes of action last night. Here is Steve Kerr on Luka after the game.
He was awful. He didn't impress me at all. He was fantastic. Tough to lose by 48 points, but you know, a break here or there.
Draymond Green getting some burn as the point guard for the Warriors. Last night he had 11 assists, just 1 turnover against the Grizz. Mac, do you like this?
I think
Draymond
they found
running
something.
point?
I mean, yeah, Draymond is a point guard. Even when he had Clay and Steph and those guys, he's the one that initiated the offense. So maybe they figure something out. Let's see. That jumbo lineup is playing some defense too. Defense is
Because when he's at center, it's the death lineup. Well, it used to be the death lineup. They used to be the super death lineup. Now it's just the G League
Doesn't
lineup.
exist lineup.
Right.
It's still the same death lineup.
This is its own death lineup. Death in a different way. I like this. This was fun to watch, and it's fun to see him figuring out other things to do. 9 years ago today, Blake Griffin made Timothy Mozgov a household name. Tracy, as someone who has done this to other human beings, what do you remember about this highlight?
Well, I just want y'all to look at the hand placement. I mean, the left hand.
What is going on today?
The left hand is what makes this dunk because he has big hands and it just stands out to me.
First of all, I've also done that to people on Nerf hoops. Okay, so give me a little bit of credit. Second of all, that's a top 5 all-time league pass moment. Top 5 all-time league pass moment.
Not only did he palm the basketball, he also palmed his head. He palmed 2 things
At once. There you go. I went to work at a professional environment and I woke up in a junior high school today. Let's talk about the Pistons. They're at the Bulls tonight. That means Derrick Rose is coming home. Of course, Rose won the MVP with the Bulls back in 2011, youngest MVP ever. Sadly, his time in Chicago derailed by injuries. In an interview with NBC Sports Chicago, D. Rose looked back on his time with the Bulls. This quote stood out to us, quote, "If load management would have been around, who knows? I probably would still be a Chicago Bull." Do you think that's true, Matt?
Yeah, possibly. D. Rose had to do a lot in Chicago, and he played a lot of minutes. And similar to me in Orlando for those 4 years, not having Grant Hill, having so much on your shoulders every night to carry a franchise, and then obviously, it's going to take a toll on you. Same with D. Rose. I mean, he had to do so much in Chicago, and just a devastating injury to his career. For what we could have witnessed as one of the greatest point guards to ever play this game. I mean, he was so electric and just dynamic at what he did. And do we look back and hope that some of those nights we took some time off? Absolutely, but it was our job to go out and carry our franchise. That's what we got paid for.
The Spurs were already dabbling in load management back then. We
then.
just didn't call it load management.
I believe at that point it was Tim Duncan DNP old.
I don't know what
they
year the
put it on then?
DNP old was, but that's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the D Rose injury, they were up 11 or 12 at the time it happened, the first ACL. It's an all-time what-if kind of moment.
Right, but was that overuse? I mean, that's what I'm not. That's where I wasn't sure kind of where this came in, is that how much of it was that he had sort of felt that he had been, load management is about overuse, right? Not overusing it, not
even
putting
when you
stress
look
on
back
the knee,
on
or was it just like a
San Antonio
bad
guys,
thing?
I mean, yes, Tim Duncan can sit out, but you still got 2 future Hall of Famers, right?
You did not have that luxury.
No, I
Derrick
didn't have
Rose
that
did
luxury.
not have that luxury.
D. Rose didn't have that as well.
We will wonder what might have been. All right, our League Pass game of the night. Rockets at Nuggets. Rockets on a streak, guys. 8-game winning streak headed into Denver. Zach, how confident are you? What is the Zach Lowe confidence meter on a 9th straight?
In Denver is always tough, so I'll say 60%, only because I believe the Rockets are 10-1 in their last 11 against Denver. And this was the matchup, one of them, that the Nuggets ducked last year with their shameful tanking, standing manipulation scheme.
Yeah, but look what happened to them.
They got to the second round and lost. Whoop-de-doo.
Right, but weren't they manipulating to meet Portland? Wasn't that the point?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Karma. The basketball gods notice these things. And they're terrified of Harden versus Jokic in the pick and roll or one-on-one. So I'm interested to see how they navigate that.
I believe one Mr. Rasheed Wallace addressed that comment. Do you think Denver's a tough place to play?
No, I don't. Well, it's not.
Their home record every year is amazing. The altitude, back-to-back in Denver, this isn't a back-to-back. It's supposed to be like the
I
worst.
took it as she posed it as, what, because of the altitude? I mean, no. That's how I took it, the question. No, I mean, yeah, you feel it the first 5 minutes, but after that, you're fine. The Rockets own Denver. They don't have enough scoring power to, challenge this team. James Harden is averaging 31 against them, 10 assists, and he's averaging 39 now. I don't expect anything to change. You put Jokic in pick and roll, what is he going to do with this guy? What is he going to do against Westbrook coming downhill at him? There's nothing they could do. Instead of trying to outscore them, do a better job of, trying to
I think
slow them
Harden
down a little
should
bit.
go for 15 assists tonight. I think that should be his goal.
I think-
Try to get like 22 and 15 is the stat
If
line.
I'm Denver, I'm switching it up from the previous times that we faced them. I'm gonna double James the whole game and see what we can do.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and analysis, check out the ESPN app. And for live streaming and premium content, check out ESPN+.
It's time for Black Friday Doorbusters, this Thursday through Saturday, only at Target.
Welcome back to The Jump. Now joining us is our front office insider, Amin Al-Hatami. And I want to talk about what we just saw with Tony Parker's jersey retirement. When you think about the various big threes, and we saw him shout out his guys there. By the way, I'd like to say about Tim Duncan, if he doesn't speak to you in the first year, he just might not be speaking that year. It might not be personal. Anyway, you heard him shout out Tim and Manu. So I want to know where you think their big three ranks among the all-time trios.
It's hard to rank them. I mean, if you name them, you got Bird, Parrish, Kevin McHale, Scott Worthy-Jabbar, right? Magic. You got obviously you have.
That's four, by the way, though. You don't get to. You get to pick for a team.
I try to shout out these guys. Right? You've got the Heatles.
Yes.
Right. Bosh, Wade, and LeBron. You've got the Warriors with KD, Steph, and Clay. You go further back. You got Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, Earl the Pearl. You got Bill Russell, and take your pick of whoever. You got this gentleman right here with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. The list goes on and on.
I hear you just not answering.
But
That's
I mean,
what I hear.
it's one of those questions that can't be answered. But what we can say that's special about these guys is three guys who were not born in this country, right? Which is very, very rare. You think about Tim Duncan.
Yep.
He's American, but he grew up in the Virgin Islands.
Yep.
He was a swimmer up until a hurricane destroyed his swimming pool, so then he had to pick up basketball.
Poor thing.
Well, just the idea that the three guys who are not from here would play the most games together and win the most as a result. That longevity, it was just something truly special.
And we talked a lot on the show yesterday. I remember so specifically covering